here's what I wish someone would have told me before I tried going to college while being in the National Guard. Hey guys, I'm back again for another video to talk about how to do life. So, if you want to go to college and be in a reserve component, National Guard, I'm going to walk you through the logistics of how. In this video, I'm not going to talk about the financial benefits or how to enlist or anything else. I'm just going to talk about from someone who was in the National Guard the entire time she was in college. We're going to talk about how it is from the day-to-day perspective. So, my number one thing to tell you is that you need to have a strong why. There are times where this is going to get difficult. Trying to achieve both of these things at the same time is going to be difficult. So you're going to have a strong why college means to you, what you're trying to achieve with it. And for your service, you should have a strong why you keep serving. So number two, something that nobody tells you, your timeline is going to get weird. So for example, let's say you go right after high school, which is a pretty common strategy for a lot of people. You may go to an amount of training after your junior year, between your junior and senior summer in high school, and then when you graduate senior year, you'll go to another set of training for your job. Or if you're doing this later in life, then you don't have these constraints. However, I will warn you, your military schedule and your semester schedule don't line up. They don't have to line up. So my advice is to give some breathing room because injuries happen. You could fail a test and have to get recycled, therefore your training time gets longer. A certain class in a certain school gets canceled and you're in training longer. So my advice is, for example, if you have one of the longer trainings, instead of trying to go after high school, try to go the summer the year after. That ought to give enough time for training plus leeway time. Or if you have one of the shorter trainings, by spring semester, you'll probably be at that point where you can start taking classes again. Another tip is work full time while you have this mid-semester time. It's going to help you save up, and having time in college is a very valuable thing for networking, for studying, for upskilling. It's not just about classes, it's about a whole lot of other things. So having time in college and having that money to help you later on can be very, very helpful. Something else that sometimes, depending on your institution, depending on the policies of the time, your training time can actually help you get some undergrad credits if you're going for your bachelor's. So you should look into it. Again, you have to look at the specific policies. Not all colleges award the same thing. My third tip is if you're doing training of any kind, don't take online classes while you're doing this. It can be tempting. Training can be long. And there are times where you have some sort of work-life balance in the training, but remember, just because you get into a good flow doesn't mean your leadership can't change, policies can't change. So it's not a stable enough environment for you to pursue classes in a very settled way. So I would not advise taking classes, just focus on your training, and then when you get out, pursue classes. That would be my advice. I saw people try to do it, and it didn't really go very well for them because while there were months where we had something good and balanced going on, there were other months when training took up such a majority of your day and energy that you didn't have enough left to pursue classes. Number 4 is I would avoid, to the best of your ability, Monday, Wednesday, Friday classes. There's a lot of classes that are Monday, Wednesday, Friday if you're taking synchronous, either online or in-person classes. But remember, a lot of your weekend commitments could end up being Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So, for example, if you're doing fall, the new schedule comes out in October. For most people, you could have a new training coming up, and then suddenly you're missing like 2 or 3 classes, which in a semester class, depending on difficulty, that can be really hard. Or for example, the class that you're going to miss is the midterm or the final, or like where you're presenting a project. So don't do this to yourself. Don't stress yourself out, and choose a Thursday class, since Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday trainings tend to be more rare than Friday, Saturday, Sunday trainings. Number 5, deployments are real. It can happen to you while you're going to school. You usually have about 6 months to a year warning. However, there's no rule that says that you have to have that. That's just often how it happens. So if a deployment is coming up, I would suggest don't leave a class halfway. So just cut off where your semester cutoff is before your semester. And one of my best advices I can give you is if you have consecutive classes, for example, programming 1, programming 2, that really build off of one another rather than being like independent silos, I would suggest you wait to do those sequential classes until you don't have any deployments coming up or until after. Because, for example, if you take programming 1 or calculus 1 and then you go for a deployment and then you come back, you're going to have to reteach yourself all of the previous class. And that is quite a lot to have to reteach yourself a whole semester. Not that you're going to forget everything, but you are going to forget quite a bit in the time that this happens. So I would suggest either if you know a deployment is coming up and you have enough time to do another semester, try to do classes that are not going to be directly building off of the classes you have to take in the future. So more like independent classes. Sometimes electives can be a good fit for this specific time in your life. Number 6, at most major colleges, there's a veterans office. Go there. Sign up for the newsletter. Follow their Instagram or however they're communicating the resources. They're there for you. Befriend them. If you have a difficult professor, they can help you advocate for yourself. There's a lot of resources. If you need to go for somebody that understands what you're going through, somebody at the veterans office, whether it's another student that may be going through something similar or one of the people who work there that have seen cases like yours, they can help you. So make the time, make the investment to attend a couple of their events, to sign up on their email, introduce yourself. It's going to pay dividends over the years that you're going to be in school. So they're there to help you. Take advantage of their help. They are there. They want you. Make the effort to attend their events and to be part of the community while you're there. Number 7, if you are like me, serving in Florida or another state that has natural disasters, line up your activities around the weather. So, for example, hurricane season for us tends to fall summer, around fall. So during these semesters, I used to be part of a club, and it was really hard because I was planning some activities that I ended up not being able to attend at all because it was hurricane season and I got activated. So my advice is if you're going to do a competition or if you're going to do like a semester long group project or you're trying to have leadership, try to schedule your roles where you're most likely to not have to be doing this. So for example, if you know hurricane season is coming up, have backup plans and people who can take over for you in your fear and leadership, or try to leave your longer projects for the spring semester. Don't try to do this because you can talk with professors, but when it comes to activities like a project or a club or a competition, they're not really going to wait for you. It's just going to go on without you. And it can suck to spend like a month and a half doing something and not be able to see it to completion because you get activated. So just try to do other things, maybe do certifications or another kind of upskilling that can stop and go when you come back if you know that you routinely get activated for these things. Like I routinely get activated for a hurricane because they consistently happen. Not every year, every other year, they tend to happen. Number 8, don't rush back to work if you can help it. So for example, when I was working these hurricane missions, obviously school and like the part-time job that I had would stop. Then I would have to come back. I would be backed up at work, I would be backed up at school, and I would be very tired. So my advice is to take 1 or 2 extra days when you come back to catch up on school, like realign yourself with everything that's going on, depending on how long you've been out. So once you can catch up on school, then you catch up at work, and then you get kind of back into the flow of the semester, or schedule your makeups, or try to set apart some time to study for the makeup that you missed, or the exams that you missed. So I would suggest right after you get these long missions, try to take some extra breathing room because the other parts of your life require your attention, and they've kind of all been on pause while you've been activated. Number 9 is take advantage of your dead time in training if you have it. So for example, I would have trainings and I would have summer classes while I did them. So something I did was I bought myself a Wi-Fi puck. They're like yay sized. You can get them from Verizon, AT&T. I'll put a link below to what they look like or what they sound or what they are. Prepaid because I only have a use case for it once a year. My university also offers like that service in the library. I just had my own because sometimes I didn't have time to go to the library to get one, so I would just get the one I have, the one I owned. And I was still gonna need it after I graduated, so it made sense for me, and it's probably gonna make sense for you too, because a lot of bases just have horrendous internet. But if you can still study, and if you have some extra time in the evenings, sometimes after a day of work, you still want to take advantage of the time, but without internet, that's not going to happen. So have your own internet, do what you can. For example, sometimes in training, and I would be waiting a lot, so I would take my textbook and get ahead on some reading for class while I was doing that. So make the time work for you. For example, if I knew of a training where I was gonna be rained on, I wouldn't take my textbook or any of my electronics. But if I knew there was gonna be a drier training, aka not so exposed to the elements, then I would bring my textbook and a puck, and whatever time I had that I was just waiting around, I would take advantage and read those things. However, not every training I had that time. Sometimes I would bring it and then not end up using it at all, and sometimes I would be able to take advantage of these when we were off duty for the training or for the mission that we were doing at any given moment. It's possible. You can do this. Many people have done it. You can definitely do it. It just takes some planning, some resiliency, and a lot of communication with your professors when you can't attend a test, or any other specific event that you're missing. And it takes a lot of power to get through the specifically hard times. I used to work full time, go to school full time, and be in the guard. And on guard weekends, I would be very stressed because that would be the usual time that I would do the homework. So I'd have to work extra hard the weekend before to get a lot more done. And it was very stressful, but I made it. I graduated. I'm very happy to have graduated. And I want to tell you, from somebody who just did it, that it gets so much better after graduation. So you have a lot to look forward to once you reach your goal. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and subscribe. Bye.